Hello crafty friends, it's Donna here from Donna is Playing Paper and from DonnaDoll74 on Instagram. I have a big stack of cards for you today that I've made by playing a little bit of a game. The starting point for these cards is the Butterfly Garden paper pack and also the cutouts from Paper Rose Studio. And I'll show you very quickly what's included with both of those. I don't know about you, but for me the hardest thing about making cards using card sketches is knowing which sketch to choose. I seem to waste a lot of time flicking through sketches, wondering which ones will match my paper, and I spend so much more time thinking and so much less time actually making cards that I decided that this time I was going to do things differently. And so what I've done this time is I'm going to use a random number generator to pick which cards I'm going to make. Turns out that actually any sketch is fine once you've made the decision to use it. There are so many good sketch websites and collections on the internet. Operation Write Home has lots of lovely ones. There are things like Sketch Saturday and all kinds of pages. The ones I've chosen to use today are the Mojo Monday sketches. And when I googled Mojo Monday sketches, I was able to find something that brought up all 500 sketches on Pinterest so that I could just scroll through them. And so my random number generator works from numbers 1 to 500 because that's how many sketches were in the particular board that I chose. I've done them all at once because I was a bit scared that I would lose the app that I'd found to choose my numbers, but also just to save time. Now that the numbers are chosen, I'm going to work through them one by one. I'll scroll until I find the number and then take a screenshot. That way I can blow up the screenshot to the size of the card that I want to make. Sometimes it's disconcerting to use the sketch without measurements, but by doing this, I can bring that size up to exactly the size of my card and then just measure if I want it to be exact. Although I'm showing you here how to work things out with the exact sizing and a ruler, mostly I actually just wing it. For the backgrounds of all of the cards, I've cut my dark background paper to be 1/8 of an inch smaller than my card, so that it leaves 1/16 of an inch all the way around. Whether I'm working in metric or in imperial, I use that measure because that's what's on my cutter. I've used background papers behind almost every patterned paper that I've used. I think having a nice dark background around each sheet, or a nice light background, just helps to break up the patterns and make the card not too busy. To copy the sketch, I've put a straight border down the right-hand side of this butterfly panel and a scalloped border down the left. I've used a tag die to cut out that tag on the left, and then I'm going to add my sentiment and some butterflies. I'm going to leave a link to all the supplies that I've used for the various little bits and pieces across the different cards as I go. Often you could get away without these by just using scissors, but they're handy to have, and I like the nice clean lines that I get by using dies. One of the tricky things about layering up paper is that some parts of your card end up taller than other parts. And if you don't want the next layers to be at a lean, it's important to level everything up. And so you'll see me placing card behind parts of lots of the different elements, just as I'm doing for the middle of this main panel now, so that it doesn't sag and collapse in the middle. As I'm cutting all my big pieces for the cards, I keep all the smaller pieces on the side, and I use those as scraps to fill in gaps where I need to. First card is done, let's spin that wheel again and see what we get next. This is a lovely simple sketch, and it's perfect for highlighting some papers because of the large areas, and so I'm going to choose a couple of my favourite papers to highlight. In the end, I've decided to turn this sketch sideways so that I can have the maximum number of butterflies showing. Once again, every piece of patterned paper is backed with a coordinating background paper. And once again, I'm adding extra strips of paper at the back to level everything up. Quite a few of the sketches have bows on them, and in almost every case I've switched out the bow for a butterfly. On to card number 3. This sketch has two main elements at the front. In the sketch, one of them is a tag and one of them is a circle, and I've decided to make this card in two different ways. One following the sketch pretty much exactly, and then a second card which is based loosely on the sketch but is freer based on the cutouts that I've got in the pack. I've switched out the tag for this beautiful big basket of flowers, and then for the other element, which was a circle on the main sketch, I've chosen one of the little cut aparts from the pack and backed this with some more green paper before adding it to the card. The next card is another beautiful simple sketch which is going to be perfect for highlighting the beautiful pattern papers. I'm going to start this card by making the sentiment, and to do that I'm going to cut the word thank you in a very fine font using a die so that I don't have to glue multiple layers of a very fiddly die cut. I'm going to make myself some sticker paper. I'm using double-sided adhesive sheets, and I'm going to put some of that onto some white and some onto some green before cutting out the words thank you from this scripty thank you die. Altogether it's cut twice from white and once from green, and because these thin letters like to bend, I'm leaving those die cuts in their negative space to add the layers to each other until I've got something that's nice and firm. Once again, I'm going to turn this sketch sideways so that I can fit the thank you onto the element that I've decided will hold the sentiment. found my T-square ruler the other day, but that doesn't stop me from using a piece of scrap paper to make sure I've lined my elements up nice and straight. Once again, I'm going to add butterflies wherever there's a little space for them. This circular sentiment from the cutouts is perfect for this next card. And I'd like to put the scalloped border on the bottom. So that my borders will line up, I'm actually sticking my paper together with some removable tape, and I'm going to run them through my die cutting machine as one piece of paper, and then just slide the top piece up and stick it down permanently. I need to apologise for this little bit of footage around here. I don't know how I did it, but somehow I managed to film the process at what I calculate to be about 8 times the speed, and so the footage that you're seeing here is actually slowed down from what the recorder took it at. If I could work out what I did, I could make sure I don't do it again. And we're about to come back to normal speed again. I love the details at the top and the bottom of this lovely paper, and so in the end I took a slice out of the middle. I spent quite a bit of time marking and cutting both ends of this piece of paper before I realised that if I just cut one end and then lined that up with the correct line on my cutting machine, I didn't need to do all of that measuring for the second side. For those of you that are new, I currently live in Japan, but while I was back in Australia, I took some sheets from the All Occasion Sentiments and I foiled those in gold. They come just in black on white or white on black, but if you do have a laminating machine, even a cheap one, you can change them into gold sentiments quite easily. This next card sketch is fairly busy, and so I'm going to choose some papers that are a little bit more monochromatic, just to tone it down a little bit. Luckily, I also still had lying around on my desk the bit that I'd cut off when I made the tag from the very first card, and that turned out to be the perfect size for one of the elements on this card. This time I'm going to use a stamped sentiment, and once again, everything that I've used will be linked below. Glue shows through terribly when you're gluing ribbon, but I'm going to cover this little spot with a butterfly. This next sketch was a bit of a surprise. We're given a choice of a round or a square card. But just recently I've purchased some square bases that come with matching sized envelopes, and so I thought I'd give those a try. I love the little pop that black sentiments give on soft coloured cards, so these sentiments are perfect for my needs. They're printed with black ink onto a white paper, and so when I cut them, you can still see the white cardstock around the outside. So I use a Memento Tuxedo black marker just to colour in around the outside so that the sentiment is black from edge to edge. For this next card, I decided to once again replace one of the rectangular shapes that's in the sketch with one of the lovely cutouts from the cutout pack. This sketch has a scalloped border, top and bottom, but I was worried that that would be too busy, and so I've chosen to cut my top paper so that those leaves hanging down at the top act as the top scallop. I have cut the bottom scallop and added that at the last minute, as you can see in the final photo. Onto the final card before I show you what I've got left over at the end. This time I'm going to use a stitched rectangle die to cut out my back panel. At the end of this process, I still have 3 full sheets of paper, including one that is cut apart, as well as a bunch of leftover flowers and butterflies, and a whole lot of pieces that are still usable size, and a big stack of cards. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you're tempted to play along and play a little bit of card sketch bingo yourself. Until next time, stay safe everybody. Bye for now.